Hello! So this is a video showing all the stuff I've bought in November. Well, so far in November, the month's not over yet. Anyway, let's get started. We'll start off with a book because I have talked a bit. It's a novelization, and I have talked a bit about novelizations that I own. We have the novelization of William Gibson's script for Alien 3. So yeah, if you don't know anything about Alien 3, it had a lot of different storylines and scripts and stuff before we got the film that was eventually made, and this is the first draft, which was written by William Gibson, the famous science fiction author, and it's been novelized by Pat Cadigan there. So apparently, he's a Hugo Award-winning author. I don't know if that means I don't really follow the Hugo. I don't know if they're like the Oscars, where the people who actually win the awards don't really deserve them. I don't know. But yeah, I'll be interested to read this. Actually, I'm a big fan of Alien 3. It's actually my favorite Alien film is Alien, the original. That's my favorite film ever. But my second favorite Alien film is actually Alien 3. Yeah, I like it more than Aliens because I think it's more tonally, it's more like the first one. So that's why I like it more. I mean, but Aliens is probably a better film objectively, but I do like Alien 3, especially the the assembly cut. I do think that's actually quite a good film. But even in the theatrical cut, I like Alien 3 a lot. So yeah, that's probably an unpopular opinion, but yeah, I like Alien 3 more than Aliens. You know, just my opinion, really. But yeah, I'll be interested to read this because apparently it is very different than the finished film. Is this the one where the aliens come to Earth? No, there was a draft. There's a teaser trailer for Alien 3 where it's like on Earth, everyone will hear you scream, and it's like that had nothing to do with the plot of the actual film. Like it was before they'd even decided on what the story should be. They just made a trailer to announce it. So yeah, probably a lot of disappointed people when the film actually came out. So yeah, but that's William Gibson's Alien 3, the book. Next, we'll go with one that I just got today. Yeah. Mad Max Anthology. I got this in the entertainment store had this on offer. It was reduced to £30, £29.99, but they also had if you put a promo code in, you got 8% off. So I only paid like £27 something for it, which is a bargain because for like 4 films on 4K. Yep, so you got all 4 Mad Max films in here. Also comes with a bonus disc called The Madness of Max, which is like a making of documentary for the first film. And it also comes with the black and chrome edition of Fury Road, although it's only on Blu-ray. Like you got the 4K disc, but it's just the regular film. The black and chrome is a Blu-ray disc, which is a bit of a shame. I'm curious to watch the black and chrome version. It's basically like the film but in black and white. But would have liked it to have watched it in 4K, but yeah. At least they included it. That was nice of them. You got 4. It comes with the slip-off thing. You got the 4 individual cases. So you've got Mad Max, Mad Max 2, or The Road Warrior. If you live in America, that really annoys me. All the modern home video release call it Mad Max: The Road Warrior. That's not what it's called. It was called Mad Max 2 internationally, and in America it was called The Road Warrior because no one really watched the first Mad Max when it came out in the States, so they called it The Road Warrior, but everywhere else it was just called Mad Max 2. Now it's Mad Max: The Road Warrior, which kind of annoys me because that's not the name. It was never called that anywhere. Very anal about these things. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, and then Mad Max Fury Road. Yeah, I like all of these. Well, not that fussed on Beyond Thunderdome, actually. It's a bit naff, but the other 3 I really do like. Next we have the 40th anniversary edition steelbook of First Blood. Comes with this plastic slipcover. Although if you notice, the plastic slipcover just says Rambo on it. It doesn't say First Blood. Bit of a misprint on there. So you've got the steelbook. It's a nice looking steelbook, actually. I really like that cover art. And a booklet. I don't tend to buy steelbooks very often, but I didn't own the film. Like, I didn't have the film on 4K, and it was a nice looking steelbook, and it advertised on the back. Like I said, it would include 2 new special features, so A Long Road, The 40 Years of First Blood, and The Hunter and the Hunted scoring First Blood. So I thought, well, if I'm going to buy it on 4K, I might as well get this because you get the nice steelbook and it comes with a couple of exclusive bonus features. So I put the discs in, and those two special features they aren't on the 4K, they aren't on the Blu-ray. I checked both. Has all the other special features on the Blu-ray, like that were on the previous release. Nope, they're not on here. So yeah, bit of a disappointment, really. I mean, I'm glad I bought it because I do like the steelbook, and like I say, I don't own the film on 4K. I don't think I have it on any format. I used to have it on DVD, but I think I sold that. In preparation of buying this, so I don't own First Blood any other way. But it is kind of annoying because what part of the reason why I did buy the steelbook was to get the new special features. So a bit of false advertising on Studio Canal's part. Should be ashamed of themselves really for that. They weren't going to include them. If they decided not to include them, they should have removed them, the mention of them off the cover. Frankly, they're a bit shoddy anyway. A lot of their ink discs have poor encoding, at least on the hit. I mean, like the Dolby Vision layer is usually fine, but HDR10 layer on a lot of their discs is pretty bad. Their macro block city, and unfortunately, my TV can only do HDR10, so I'm stuck with the crappy encoding a lot of the time. They really need to sort that out. But here's a Studio Canal disc that actually looks good, doesn't have any encoding problems. We have Highlander on Steelbook. Again, don't tend to buy Steelbooks, but the standard version of this hasn't come out yet, and I really wanted it, and this was cheaper and takes up less space than the collector's TAT edition. Love Highlander. This is the first 15 certificate film I ever saw. I wasn't really allowed to watch 15 or 18 certificate films as a kid, because my parents, admittedly I was a bit of a wimp, so I didn't like anything too violent or too scary, so my parents didn't let me watch that stuff. But I went over to a friend's house and he's like, I've got Highlander on video, you want to watch it? He didn't sound like that. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I watched it and really enjoyed it. My mum was a bit pissed off when she found out that I'd watched it. But so I do have a lot of nostalgic fondness for the film, and it's just a lot of fun. I mean, it has a lot of flaws. It is not a perfect film. It does kind of squander due to budget limitations. It's a bit too ambitious for the money they had to make it, so some of the ideas are a bit squandered. I do think I would like to see a remake of this. I heard they are making one. I'd be interested to see it, even though I love this film, because some of the ideas could be executed better, and so I wouldn't mind seeing a remake. But I do love the film. For as flawed as it is a lot of fun. It is really a lot of fun. And the Queen music, like Michael Kamen score and the songs by Queen are just fantastic. Yeah, they really make the film as enjoyable as it is. Some of the parts of the film wouldn't work, but they do because of the music. And speaking of Highlander, I also bought the only other decent Highlander film, like notoriously, the first Highlander. It's cult classic, and then the TV series it's pretty good. And then everything else is like all the sequels are like awful, like just terrible. Highlander 3 is like mediocre, but that's probably the best of the sequels. But it's in that it's mediocre rather than crap, so it's not exactly a ringing endorsement. But there is another Highlander thing that's actually pretty good. We have the anime film, The Search for Vengeance. Yeah, this was an anime. It's not a sequel. It's kind of the Highlander, the concept, but as an anime film, and it's actually pretty good. Next, we have on Blu-ray one of the worst films ever made, like genuinely one of the worst films ever made. Some of you will probably think I'm like mad for buying this, but we have Battlefield Earth. This is the US Blu-ray because it's not on Blu-ray in the UK. So what this is, it's a science fiction film based on a book by L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology. It has nothing to do with Scientology, it's just that he was also a science fiction writer and he happened to write... Yeah, the guy founded Scientology happened to also be a science fiction writer. That's why John Travolta's in it, because he's a big Scientologist, and it is an awful, awful film. It is just genuinely terrible. Apparently the book's pretty good, though. this film is a guilty pleasure because I do think I do watch. I do think that the premise could have made for a decent film. I'm kind of fascinated by it. Like I said, the book apparently is pretty good, so it could have made for a decent film. But everything about it was just the wrong creative decision, and it just doesn't work. So I'm kind of fascinated by it in that way. But and also it is actually quite unintentionally funny. Like John Travolta plays the bad guy in this. He's like this alien, and he is hysterical. Like his acting is just so over the top. It is really funny. So yeah, awful film, but it is a guilty pleasure of mine. I do, kind of enjoy it. Yeah. Something else that's cool is this is the theatrical cut when it was originally released on DVD and VHS. They re-edited the film slightly, I guess to try and improve it. Didn't work because people still thought it was bad. And this is the first time the theatrical cuts actually appeared on home video, so that's kind of interesting. I don't think I've seen it. I mean, I've seen it on DVD, so I would have seen the re-edited version. So I'm curious to see what's different about the cinema cut. Yep, Battlefield Earth. We go from one of the worst films of all time to one of the very best films of all time, Casablanca on 4K. It's just the standard version. I love Casablanca. This is a fantastic, beautiful. Like it's one of those films where like just everything about it's kind of, I don't want to say perfect because Paul Henreid his acting's a bit wooden, but you got great. It's got a great script. It's got wonderful cinematography, great performances. I mean, Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman. What's funny is like when they were making this film, no one thought it would be any good. They were like writing it. They were still writing the film as they were shooting it. Like they didn't write the ending till like, till just before they shot it, and the actors all were like doing it for the money. So on paper, this shouldn't have worked, but it is a fantastic film. Really fantastic film, and the 4K looks stunning, absolutely stunning. It really does. Casablanca. Next, we have a film that, well, it's a classic depending on which part of the world you're from. In America, it's a beloved classic. It's a Christmas film, and if you live in America, you've definitely seen it. It's like on TV every year. There's like merchandise for it. It's absolutely massive. Like everyone's seen it. It's like a perennial favorite. But like pretty much everywhere else in the world, apart from America, no one's heard of it. So we have A Christmas Story on 4K. I'm quite surprised they released the 4K here in the UK. Because, like I say, no one's... Like, I've met one other person who's seen the film, and that's only because I showed it to them. Like, no one's heard of this film over here. So I'm genuinely surprised there was a 4K. We never got the Blu-ray, we just got the DVD. So I guess because the sequel... Isn't there a sequel coming out? Yeah, I think there's a sequel coming out, so that's why. But yeah, it's a really good film. It's about this kid, Ralphie... It's set in the 1940s, and it's about this kid, Ralphie, and he wants this BB gun for Christmas, but everyone keeps saying, well, no, you're not getting your BB gun for Christmas, you'll shoot your eye out, kid. That's if you've seen the film, you'll get that reference, but, yeah, it's a really, really funny film. Actually, some of the humor's quite dark, to be honest, but it's a really fantastic film, and it's a shame it's not really that well known outside of the States. I watch it every year. Next, we have a biopic. Those of you know me, friends of mine who know me in real life know I'm quite a big fan of Bruce Lee. And so we have, I'm reading at the moment the Matthew Polly's biography of Bruce Lee. And so I was kind of in the mood to rewatch Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. Now, as a biopic, it's not very good, actually. It's very inaccurate, doesn't really resemble the life of Bruce Lee. Like, there are things in this film that happened in real life, but the way they happen in the film is completely different from the way they happened in real life. So yeah, it's not a very good, accurate representation of Bruce Lee's life. But as an action film, it's actually pretty... Like, you just watch it as a film, like a work of fiction, just as an action film. It's quite entertaining, actually. It's got some good fight scenes. Jason Scott Lee, who played Bruce Lee, no relation. He's really good in this. He's very charismatic. It's a shame he didn't really have a big career after this film. Just don't expect a documentary, basically. Next we have, I got this in CEX, from CEX's website, because I had a voucher. We have The Ghoul. This is a 1930s horror film starring Boris Karloff. Unusually, it's a British film. Britain didn't make many horror films in the 30s. You obviously had the Hammer stuff in the 50s, but in the 1930s we didn't really make many horror films. So it's kind of interesting that there's a British horror film from this era, and it's not a great film. It's all right. Boris Karloff's quite good, but it's worth watching just for the novelty of seeing a horror film made in Britain, like from this era. And the cinematography is fantastic. Like, it looks like if you showed this to someone and didn't tell them it was from the 1930s, they'd think it was from the 60s. Like, the cinematography was really ahead of its time. So it's yeah, if you're a horror fan of this era of horror, it's worth watching. It's kind of an interesting film. Not a great film, but it is an interesting one. It was later remade as What a Carve Up with Sid James. So if you remember that film, it's basically the same story as this, but obviously that's a comedy. Well, this is kind of a comedy. It's similar in tone to The Old Dog House, but that is like a straight up comedy. Rather than that, that's kind of a horror comedy. Next we have Escape from Alcatraz, Clint Eastwood. Annoyingly, I ordered this from Amazon, and I don't know if you can see that, but the case was a bit damaged, and the cover got a bit ripped. Now, I managed to replace the case. I had a spare case lying around, but you can see the cover's still a bit ripped there. I don't know if I show on camera, but it's kind of annoying. But this was directed by Don Siegel, who also did Dirty Harry and Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Don Siegel's a really... he's not a director that gets talked about very much anymore, but he's a fantastic director. He also did a film called Charlie Varick with Walter Matthau. That's a really... like, if you've never seen Charlie Varick, that's a really great thriller. I recommend that. But yeah, good film, one of Clint's best. Also has Patrick McGoohan. He plays the warden in this, which is quite funny because his most famous role is in the TV show The Prisoner. So in this film, the prisoner is the warden. He's also in Scanners as well. Plays the scientist. Scream and Scream Again. This was a freebie from work. My co-worker had 2 copies of this, and so they gave me one of them. It's a weird film. It's like... well, first of all, you'll see on the box it mentions Vincent Price, Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing. They're barely in the film. Peter Cushing's in it for literally one scene, and the other 2 are in it for like 5 minutes each, and they have like one brief scene together at the end. And also, it's very disjointed. It's like 3 different storylines, but they aren't linked together very well. It's like watching 3 different films, edited together. And even towards the end, when the storylines kind of converge, it's still very confusing. But it is kind of fun for how bonkers it is. If you're in the right mood, you can enjoy this for how bonkers it is. And I also quite like the theme tune by it doesn't say who did it, but there's a song called Scream and Scream Again, and it's kind of cheesy, but I kind of enjoy it. And that is a fantastic cover. That is a great cover. I love that cover. It was worth getting the DVD just for the cover, really. Another film I got from CEX because I had a voucher, The Wages of Fear. This is a French film. It's about these so it's some convicts, 4 desperate men. They're in a South American village, and they've been hired by an oil company to embark. Basically, there's this nitroglycerin that they've got to transport from point A to point B. So they put them in the trucks and they've got to drive them, and it's like, yeah, I've not seen this, but I have seen the remake Sorcerer by William Friedkin, and that is one of my favourite films. So I'm like, well, I've got to watch the original too. And this is like meant to be a really good film. It's got Christopher Nolan quote on the front. A masterpiece of suspense. Well, Sorcerer was like incredible. Like, I was literally on the edge of my seat when I watched that. So yeah, I've heard the original's even better. So I'm like, well, if it's better, if it's more suspenseful than Sorcerer, I've got to watch it. Next, I've got some premium collection discs. They're currently back. Normally they're 2 for $25, but occasionally, a few times a year, they'll be reduced to 2 for $15. So I bought 4 of them. We have Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan, Lord of the Apes. Now there's a mouthful of a title with the Highlander himself, Christophe Lambert, as Tarzan. I saw this I saw it when I was a kid on TV many, many years ago, and I barely remember anything about it. So I'm curious to rewatch it. directed by Hugh Hudson, who directed Chariots of Fire. So it's interesting. I like that sort of Tarzan stuff. Like adventure type films. Next we have the Seven Brides, Seven Brothers. Haven't seen this. It's meant to be a classic musical, and I like musicals, so I thought I'd give it a go. Yep. It's got a Howard Keel from Dallas, which is a TV series I really like. Next we have John Travolta, Urban Cowboy. This is basically Saturday Night Fever with bull riding instead of dancing, and I like Saturday Night Fever, so I thought I'd give this a go. I've heard it's good as well. Also has Deborah Winger, and apparently she's really attractive in this when she rides the bull, so yeah. And Out of the Past, Robert Mitchum, film noir. I've not seen it, but it is one of the classic film noirs, and I thought, well, I do like film noirs, so I probably should watch this. So, yeah. Also has Kirk Douglas in it. I think this is like one of his first films. I don't know. I think it's like quite early in his career. Not sure. So yeah. Out of the Past. Last but not least, we have 2 installments from my favourite film franchise, which is Planet of the Apes. We have Dawn for the Planet of the Apes and War for the Planet of the Apes on 4K. I had these on Blu-ray, and Zavvi had them in a 2 for $20 offer, plus postage, obviously. So I thought I'll get these two because, upgrade them because I love me some Planet of the Apes. Original's my favourite. Then these two will probably be second and third, actually. Even though I do think the newer ones are missing some of the humour from the originals, because the original had the original films had quite a lot of satirical humour that I think is missing from these, but these two are still really great films. No. My second favourite would be Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, and then these would be third and fourth. Sorry. I don't know why I forgot that. I like all of them to an extent. Like even like the Tim Burton one and Battle for the Planet of the Apes are bad films, but I still kind of enjoy them because I had them on tape when I was a kid. And the Planet of the Apes I love, but also those two I had them on video when I was younger, and I used to watch them a lot because I didn't have the other films on video. So, yeah. Rise, I do still Rise, the first one of this lot. I do like it. I do think it's a good film, but I don't like it as much as some of the other ones because I cannot stand James Franco. Like, even before the stuff about him being a sex pest came about, he was awful. I just thought he was an awful actor. Never liked him. He always got on my nerves. So, because I think if another actor had played his part, I probably would enjoy the film more. But yeah, it's still a good film. Anything Planet of the Apes, I'll watch. Yeah. So that's the end of the pickups, and that's the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed watching. If you did, please give the video a like. I will see you next time.